Hi, I'm Ross, and I'm here with my friend James, and today, boy oh boy, it's finally happening. We get to talk about The Kissing Booth 3.
It came. It finally came.
It's been a very long road to this moment. This was actually, unironically, my most anticipated movie of this year.
It's true. You never stopped talking about it.
I did not. I could not have possibly been more excited for this. I love the first movie in my own way. I love the second movie even more. And this one, well, this one's kind of a mixed bag. It's weird.
I haven't seen the second one, so going into the third one, I was kind of blind, but I do gotta say, I wasn't disappointed.
You know, it's the kind of thing where I wonder if it would be possible for me to be disappointed, because either way, I was going to get, quote unquote, what I wanted from this movie.
You know what you sound like, Mom? You sound like a realtor.
That's because I am a realtor.
So the story of The Kissing Booth 3 picks up right where Kissing Booth 2 left off, with Elle having to make a decision between going to Harvard or going to Berkeley. This classic conundrum we've all found ourselves in. Ultimately, the question is, does she want to go live with her boyfriend or with her best friend? Two desperately unhealthy relationships that have brought her nothing but misery.
Agreed.
The characters in The Kissing Booth have the weirdest relationships of all the Netflix teen rom-coms, I would say, because the writing is so specifically bad in this series in particular.
And I don't matter to you, really? Not compared to him. I never have.
Lee and Elle together are the worst. They are terrible to each other, and they are terrible to everyone around them because they are obsessed with a list of rules they made up when they were like 8.
Like the fact that they kept this going from a young age up until they're going to college.
But in this one, there's a whole different set of rules because they had to think of something else to do. And really, The Kissing Booth 3 as a sequel functions primarily to give you exactly what you've already gotten, but slightly different. This is just The Kissing Booth 2 again. Elle has to make a decision between two boys.
Ain't that just the way?
What's there to talk about, you know? This is just the way things go, right?
Well, the best part of this movie, I think we both agree, is the ending.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Because it is so far out of step with what you would expect. And that was really, I mean, going into this, that was what this was all about for me. How are they going to wrap it up? The first two Kissing Booth movies end exactly the same way, where Elle has to choose between Noah and blank, and she always chooses Noah.
I mean, I would think that I would know what's best for me.
No, you do. You do.
So the ending of the movie is everyone breaks up with each other.
Thank God.
They all go their separate ways.
As they should.
Cut to 6 years later, and let me tell you, this was the last thing I expected to happen. When Riverdale did it, I was like, okay, sure, you've earned that. A more apt parallel between this movie and another would be with To All the Boys 3, Always and Forever, which has kind of the same plot and sets up for the ending that this movie has, and I wish that one had gotten. In fact, I made a whole video about how that movie should have ended that way, and then Kissing Booth 3 came along and did end that way. Now look, I'm not saying I have any sort of influence or power, but I am saying I did this.
You know, I'm still a rebel.
Oh.
Last Friday, left work 20 minutes early.
So shockingly, the ending of this movie is that Elle and Noah don't end up together, and they just kind of go their separate ways and have this sort of mutual respect for each other. It ends on this note of just, honestly, really kind of heartwarming reconciliation, where for 3 movies, I've been watching this relationship thinking, this should not work. These people should not be together. And then the movie agrees.
The fact that we love each other means nothing?
The whole movie is the usual Kissing Booth hijinks. It's Elle can't decide if she wants to do this or that. She gets in a fight with Lee because he wants her to do everything he says because he's a terrible friend. And
He's a little rich
terrible
white
person.
boy.
Yeah. My theory is that Lee and Elle actually should have ended up together because they seem emotionally and almost physically incapable of functioning when they are not around each other, or even the idea that they one day may not be around each other all the time. Lee loses his he can't handle it.
You know, I actually feel like that's the basis for a bad relationship.
Lee exists to create conflict with Elle, and the conflict always comes from the dumb rules. I mean, on the bright side, they actually do call him out for this. Characters actually
They
do
do.
finally get called out for being terrible people twice.
You have never had to worry about anything. You've had everything handed to you your whole life.
You have no idea how disappointed in you I am right now.
Well, it's a modicum of self-awareness, but I did get the feeling throughout the movie that this was more made out of obligation to finish a trilogy than this is a story we just gotta tell. The amount of montages in this movie alone.
Oh, yeah.
There is no event that the kissing booth cannot turn into a montage. And maybe, perhaps, if the central romance had had any moments of real communication or interaction in a positive way that wasn't only expressed in montage. So whenever they're not in a montage, you know, laughing and dancing and singing and drinking and whatever, they're yelling at each other and fighting. Maybe the relationship would seem good, if that's the word.
I don't like fighting.
The movie is about nostalgia, primarily, about letting go of the past and being able to move forward. And the ways in which this theme is explored are, well, there's a spectrum of ideas of quality. Thematically, the only thing that doesn't really fit in the movie is selling the beach house.
Yes.
The Flynns have had this beach house. The Flynns, who are really hard up for cash, have had this beach house forever. And they all grew up there. We've never heard about this beach house once, except for one line in the Kissing Booth 2's opening montage. I remember everything. This whole franchise is seared into my brain. Never question me. Molly Ringwald wants to sell the beach house, and they're all like, no, don't sell the beach house. We love the beach house. And then at the end, they're going to sell the beach house, and she goes, no, my kids have great memories of this house. So they don't sell the house. And it makes no sense. The whole theme of the movie is letting go of the past and moving on. They even, you know, symbolically paint over the past markings of themselves. And she doesn't sell the house. It makes no sense.
I'm just not selling this house.
You know what? I will give the Kissing Booth 3 that, because this was the first time that I think my positive feelings for the movie as a whole outweighed the negative ones. What I love about the Kissing Booth is it is pure fantasy. Nothing and no one represents anything even remotely recognizable as real or interesting. Nothing you want from a movie, a real dramatic story, is in this franchise. It's hard to critically dissect this movie because that's really not what it's for. It is meant to be a sort of disposable, escapist adventure into silliness and occasionally touching on some themes that the teen girl audience can relate to.
She's not Mom. She never will be.
I think this is the point where my ironic love for the Kissing Booth can no longer be called ironic. It's just, I legitimately enjoyed watching this movie from beginning to end. On one hand, to see how bad it would be, but when it ended, I was just feeling like, oh, that was kind of solid, actually. That was not bad. And I'm sure it's just because of the residual love I've felt for this franchise and the fact that I have not stopped thinking about it since I first saw the Kissing Booth. As someone who was not as, let's say, obsessed with the Kissing Booth as I was, as a viewer, what did you really connect with in this?
I mean, I didn't have a beach house, but my family did share like a cottage and all that stuff. So like the whole thing of like not wanting to sell the cottage, although I do agree that by the end, like probably should have sold it, but it's whatever. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed, even though I didn't feel like it was super necessary, that Marco was his name.
Yeah.
He came back for some reason.
Well, they set it up at the end of the second one.
Okay.
Marco implied that he was still going to keep going after Elle, that he was still interested in her.
Okay.
And in this one, he shows up, says that he's still interested in her, punches Noah, and then leaves the movie never to be seen again. I'll give To All the Boys 3 this over Kissing Booth 3. At least they didn't even bring John Ambrose back in To All the Boys 3. They didn't even pretend that he was still a part of the story.
You're developing video games now, your own game?
Yeah, I'm designing games.
I'm honestly still in shock that the ending was good. Not just good for the Kissing Booth, like good and made sense.
Yeah.
Look, it made me feel shit. I don't know what to tell you people. It just, like, I don't know what to do, man. I liked this movie. It was fun.
You're here listening to him.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
you know what? Who's the real fool here?
Hey,
Beach was a big part of my life.
I was just happy to get one last ride. I connected with this trilogy for some reason very deeply. And from beginning to end, it consistently gave me exactly what I wanted from it. I think Lord of the Rings has some stiff competition for greatest cinematic trilogy of all time.
Very true.
Sure, Battle of Helm's Deep, that's pretty cool. But
whatever.
that go-kart sequence. As a whole, I don't think you could have wrapped up the story of The Kissing Booth any better, which is both a compliment and an insult. The Kissing Booth 1, 2, and 3, to me, they're at the top of Mount Trashmore.
The fact that they had an actual legitimate ending that made sense was a surprise in itself.
I know we're just harping on about the ending, but that's the most interesting part.
All of this happened just because of, well, you know.
Do you have any final thoughts about KB3, The Kissing Booth 3, Resurrections?
Not enough kissing.
This movie should have given more love to the side characters that we've seen in these 3 movies, because the gay couple got a whole subplot in the last one. Yearbook guy, once again, gets nothing. He gets maybe one line.
They had the WoW girls.
The OMG girls.
That
Did you
too.
even watch it?